Welcome back to my channel. I am here to review Sex and the City, or I should say, And Just Like That, episode 8. I said in the last review that the main reason I'm still watching is for Miranda's storyline because it's the most compelling and it's the one that is drawing me in week to week to see how it's going to develop. And let me just say, I dislike Shay. She was annoying, and it's just because we're seeing so much of her and she's not really a member of the cast, or I wasn't really imagining her as a member of the cast. She just seemed like an ancillary character, but apparently she is integral to the storyline. So when the show started with her and she's on stage and she's speaking at an LGBTQIA rally, it felt very old to me. Like, here we go again with her. It seems like she's one note. Everything she talks about is her coming out the closet, her being gay, and and LGBTQ rights and things of that nature. And so it just felt like a little bit of enough already. Okay, we get it. And I don't even really think she's that funny, and she's supposed to be a comedian and all this other stuff. But so when it started off with her, I was a little annoyed. Like, here we go again. They are just going to shove this chick down our throats. But then we see that Miranda is at the rally and she's all, googly eyed and just, in awe of Shay. And then she notices that Brady and his girlfriend are there as well. And then she scurries off because she doesn't want them to see her there. And while Shay is speaking, she sees that Miranda is running off and she confronts her about it later. Miranda tells her, I saw my son and he doesn't know. And Shay seems surprised. She thought that Miranda was in an open marriage. I didn't know that she thought that, and I guess she just assumed. But I have to say I was impressed with Shay's response because she had struck me as the type of person who's like, I'm down with whatever, and even if you are married, that's okay, because I didn't think that Shay was really into this. I thought it was just something she was doing. She strikes me as this kind of whimsical person who just kind of goes with the flow. So the fact that she told Miranda that, she is not going to be a secret, she's not going to live in the dark, she's not an adulterer, a liar, all these other things, it made me respect her. I still don't like her, but I respected her in that moment. So we see that this has kind of sent Miranda into a tailspin. She even shows up at Shay's job and tells her how much she loves her and that she's going to ask for a divorce. She tells her friends, she tells Charlotte and some, I would say Samantha, Charlotte and Carrie the same thing. And I wish that they would have talked to her a little bit more about that. I could see that Charlotte's trying to take her hands off the wheel because she in the past has been seen as being judgmental, and she doesn't want to be perceived that way, and she also has her own stuff going on in her life. But I think they really should have spent more time talking to her. And Carrie does mention it later when she says that, are you sure that Shay wants you? I mean, you're about to turn your whole life upside down for somebody who you're not even sure where you stand with them. Now, Miranda is going to say that it's bigger than that and that she's just not happy in her marriage. And clearly she isn't, because the fact that she wasn't happy is what brought her to Shay in the first place. However, this all happened so quickly. You really don't know Shay. You don't even really know if you're a lesbian. You don't know that you want to be in a relationship again, because relationships are relationships, whether they're same sex or opposite sex. So if the boredom and the monotony and all of that of the commitment of the day to day is what you don't like, it's gonna recreate itself later if you get into a relationship with Shay. I imagine. So I think she needs to spend a little more time thinking about, does she just want to be alone and just be a single woman, or is she doing this just to be with this woman? Because it sounds like if Shay had not um checked her, she would have gone on with this. Yeah, so I don't know. I just think that this is a little impetuous. I think she is having a midlife crisis. She believes that she's in love. I think she's turned out sexually. And I think it's just a combination of factors all rolling into at the same time that's making her believe ending her marriage is the best decision. Um, so anyway, so I'll fast forward a little bit. So she speaks to Steve, and again, I will give her credit for doing it because a lot of people say that they're gonna break it off or they're gonna ask for a divorce, and they never do it because they're afraid. But she does, and my heart broke for Steve. I said this last week. I think Steve is such a good guy, and that doesn't mean because he's a good guy that she has to stay with him. But I feel like he's constantly getting the short end of the stick in this relationship, even from when they first met and she slept with him and then kind of kicked him out of her house the next day. And then when he tried to meet up with her and her friends, she made jokes at his expense and talking about, you should never just have random sex with a bartender. Like, she's been shitting on Steve for years. Just the way she's treated him, the way she kind of even pushed him out of being in Brady's life. I mean, the fact that Brady's name is Brady, and because she gave Brady Steve's last name, and I never really understood that because then when they got married, so what is Brady's last name now? Because Steve is his father. So is he Brady Hobbs? Because Hobbs is her last name. Look, I don't know. I know I just went off on a tangent. But even just things like that, where I feel like she has always had the upper hand in this relationship and never once stopped and said, how does he feel? But then on the flip side, Steve has also allowed her to do that, right? So this has been the norm in their relationship. And she tells him that she wants more. And I hated that choice of words. And he kind of hints to it later on or speaks to it later on. Why is it that you say you want more? Why don't you say you want different? Because saying you want more makes it seem like Steve is not enough. He's not good enough. And he's been so consistent and good to you all these years. He's been a good husband, a good father, all of those things. He's allowed her to be herself. He's been very accommodating and supportive. And I just feel like she owes him much more than that. I'm not saying she needs to stay with him, but her choice of words disturbed me. And once Steve realizes that this conversation is for real, he says exactly that this entire time they've been together, it feels like he's never been enough. But he was always hanging in there for them. And true, and it is true. Steve is what kept them together. Steve has always been what tethered them because Miranda was ready to throw it away so many times. Even when he cheated on her, and that was his bad, but he went above and beyond to get her back when he easily could have let the relationship go, knowing that Miranda would probably punish him for a long time afterwards. So I think she's making a huge mistake. Huge mistake because I don't think Shay wants the same things. I do like what Steve said that, he's too old to rally for them again. I like that he realizes I've done enough. If this is what she wants, then fine. But he can't keep being the glue. And it's not fair to him. So he told her he wants her to be happy. And it sounds like he's agreeing to this divorce. Then she gets in a cab and she's on the phone and she's telling Carrie what happened and talking about now she's flying to Cleveland to go be with Shay. To surprise her, to let Shay know that that they can be together. Oh, one thing I will say, let me just go back a second. She did, before she spoke to Steve, she did ask Shay, is this for real? Which was smart. Because she believes she's in love with Shay and she wanted to know that before she made this move that this was a reciprocal kind of relationship. And Shay tells her that she's in love with her, which I don't know that I believe. But Shay did tell her, I don't want a traditional relationship. And then Miranda said she didn't either. And I don't know that Miranda knows what that means, or at least know what Shay means by that. And I think that's what's going to come back and bite her in the butt, because Shay might be a thing. It might be the kind of situation where you're my number one, but I have other people. And I don't know if Miranda's going to be able to deal with that because she's in love with her. And Shay's version of in love might be different than Miranda's, and that's going to play itself out in how they interact as a couple. So I don't see good things coming out of this. I think when she flies to Cleveland, she's going to get a rude awakening. I don't think that Shay is going to receive her the way she wants to, wants to be received. I anticipate and predict that there's going to be problems in their relationship moving forward, and I predict that Miranda's going to regret this. I think she's going to regret, pushing Steve out of her life. And like Carrie told her, there's a difference between being alone and, or I don't know exactly what she said, but something along the lines of like, sometimes you want to be alone when you have somebody else there and it's not that you have an option, but when there is no other option, kind of like what Carrie's going through right now, it's a different experience. And I don't know that Miranda has wrapped her mind around that yet, but I think she's gonna learn. So we'll see what happens next week with that. This is an interesting storyline. I have to say that I am happy that this week we only had storylines based on the three main characters, that there weren't stories about Thema or Miranda's professor, I can never remember her name, or Nicole Ari Parker's character, LW something, Lisa somebody. It just was easier to follow, and it just felt more natural and organic. So quickly, I'll talk about Charlotte's storyline, which was cute. So I like that, she and Harry still are in love and still have a good relationship. And she was about to she was on her knees and she was about to give him a blowjob when her daughter walked in. And now that kind of kicked off this conversation she wanted to have with Lily about what she saw. And then she saw some Instagram photos of Lily dressed kind of sexy, and it opened the door for them to have some good dialogue, some good mother-daughter dialogue about sexuality and all these adult things. But I just thought it was hilarious that Charlotte got caught in that position. And did you see that they really showed Harry's penis or somebody's penis? I mean, there was a whole penis out. There were two penises in this episode. It was Harry's, and then Carrie's neighbor downstairs, when she went to go give the girl the brownies, he dropped his towel and they showed his penis. So, I mean, this is new. Usually they'll show women's parts all day long, but they rarely show men's genitalia. So I guess this is also living up to this whole woke thing that they're on, where it's equal opportunity for everybody. But if that was Harry's penis, oh my, that's just an aside. So anywho, so that was a cute story with Charlotte. I like that they still have an active sex life. The other women were were shocked about it. I could see why Miranda was, but not Carrie, because Carrie and Big seem to have a nice, robust sex life. But yeah, so that was a cute little segment. And then lastly, we see Carrie has a downstairs neighbor who is young and hip and cute and fashionable and all these other things. And, they introduce her because she has a bunch of friends downstairs and they're making a lot of noise. And Carrie doesn't want to be the old lady who complains, even though she is irritated by it, which I didn't understand. I mean, Carrie, you're 50 something. Listen, at 30 something, I would have complained about them making noise. Like, noise is noise is noise, regardless of how old you are. But, Carrie wanted to seem like she was hip and young. I think that this character was supposed to be a younger Carrie. And I imagine that that's what Carrie was like when she first moved into that building. She was probably disrupting her older neighbors, sitting on the steps with Miranda and Samantha and giggling and laughing and all sort of stuff, because that's what young people do. And when she even said to Seema, I don't know how she even affords this apartment. Carrie, we don't know how you afforded that apartment for all those years. You're a writer and you spent all that money on clothes. But so this is before TikTok and YouTube and all these other things. So we really don't know how you earned your money. I mean, this young girl, she could be an influencer or something, and that would make all the sense in the world why she could afford that apartment. But yeah, I thought that was a younger version of Carrie. The fashion, all of that, the poor choices in men. And yeah, but I do like the fact that the young woman was respectful. She came and she apologized, and she's just not one of those belligerent young millennials who just disrespect their elders. So that was cool. We saw the dress from Paris, and at the very end, Carrie is wearing it again, sitting eating popcorn in front of her window. I think that was really it. It was a cute episode. Like I said, I'm happy it was just the three of them. And really, the main storyline is Miranda. And I think, like I said, this is not going to be a good move for her. But I want to know what you guys think. Let me know. Do you think that this is a huge mistake? Do you think she is just walking in her truth? Do you think she's going to regret it? Let's talk about it. So thank you again for watching, and be sure to like and share and subscribe. And I will see you guys next week to review the episode 9 of And Just Like That. Take care.